Whisper Facts episode, and today's video topic is one I've been very excited to do. It is, of course, Christmas. Now, Christmas is one of my very favourite times of year. Ever since I was a kid, it's always been my favourite time, and to this day I get excited about it, even as a man in my 30s. I love the build-up, the music, the movies, pretty much everything about it, so it only seemed fitting that I put together a Christmas facts episode for this festive period. But just before we get into the video, I wanted to remind you guys to hit the like button if you enjoy the video, and consider subscribing as well if you haven't, as it only takes a second, but it really does help the channel out. I have around 70 to 80% non-subscribers viewing my videos, so I'm looking to convert a few more viewers into subscribers if possible. I would really appreciate it if you do, and let me know in the comments if you do subscribe, and I will do my very best to get back to you. Okay, so without further delay, it is time to begin the Christmas fact frenzy. So feel free to lay back, relax, and let yourself drift away as I whisper facts about Christmas. Christmas is an annual festival commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, observed primarily on December the 25th as a religious and cultural celebration by billions of people around the world. Christmas Day is a public holiday in many countries. It's celebrated religiously by a majority of Christians, as well as culturally by many non-Christians, and forms an integral part of the holiday season organized around it. The traditional Christmas narrative, the Nativity of Jesus, says that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. When Joseph and Mary arrived in the city, the inn had no room, and so they were offered a stable where the Christ child was soon born, with angels proclaiming this news to shepherds, who then spread the word. Yeah, this is what you're taught as a child, but I'm not sure too many kids are all that bothered about the history of Christmas and how it came to be, etc. It's all about the presents at the end of the day for kids, I think. But there's no harm in that, as long as kids do understand the brief outline of Christmas. I think that's good enough. Having just read that paragraph, I now realise that it's something I haven't thought about in many years. Once you grow up and you become an adult, the historical aspect kind of fades away because nobody is talking about that as adults. Unless, of course, you're religious and you attend church perhaps. But other than that, you generally only hear the story of Jesus' birth when you're a child at school, I guess. Well, that was my experience anyway. Of course, it's probably different for other people. The traditional Christmas colours are green, red, and gold. Each colour has been the symbol of life and rebirth for a long time. Red symbolises the blood of Jesus Christ. Green represents mystery, and gold is the symbol of wealth. Germany first created the artificial Christmas tree, which was made of goose-coloured feathers. The reason we Christmas is to symbolize the gifts given to Jesus by the three wise men. Yeah, I think this is a fact most of us know. And the gifts they brought were gold, frankincense, and myrrh, if memory serves from childhood. According to the Guinness World Records, the longest Christmas tree was cut by 221 feet of Douglas fir, which was displayed in a shopping center in Washington in 1950. Wow, that is impressive. 221 feet is huge, and as far back as 1950. I wonder why exactly this record has never been broken or topped since then. You would think that it would have been, but apparently not. Christians may have grown up learning that we give gifts at Christmas to mimic the presents the three wise men brought the baby Jesus. But like so many other traditions, that also has its roots in Saturnalia. The pagans originally gave offerings to the gods as well. The world's largest Christmas stocking was 32.56 meters long and 14.97 meters wide. It weighed as much as 5 reindeer and was produced on the 14th of December 2007 by the Children's Society of London. The tradition of Christmas trees goes all the way back to ancient Egyptians and Romans, who decorated with evergreens during the winter solstice to signify that spring would return. Christmas was not declared an official holiday in the United States until June the 26th, 1870. You probably already knew that the idea of Santa Claus came from St. Nicholas. The saint wasn't a bearded man who wore a red suit, however. That tradition came much later. In Dutch, his name is Sinterklaas, which later morphed into Santa Claus in English. The Dutch also began the tradition of leaving cookies and milk for Santa on Christmas Eve. On St. Nicholas's feast day, Dutch children would leave him food and drink to be exchanged for gifts overnight. When I was a kid, it was traditional in my house to leave Santa a glass of Ribena, which, if you're unaware, is a sort of blackcurrant drink, or red stuff, as we called it in my house. But we left him red stuff, a carrot for Rudolph, and usually a chocolate biscuit, I think. I don't think we ever left milk. I guess every house is different in what they leave at the end of the day, but yeah, that was what we did in my house when I was a little kid. The first printed reference to the Christmas tree is found in Germany in 1531. Coca-Cola played a huge part in Santa's image. Before Coca-Cola decided to use his image for advertising, Santa's looks tended to be more fitting for Halloween than Christmas. In 1931, the beverage company wears a red and white suit, and I had an idea it was in the 1930s, but I wasn't aware there was a red and white form of Santa prior to that, created by White Rock Beverages, which I've never actually heard of. But there you go. He actually dates back as far as 1915. Santa's 8 reindeer have had lots of different names. Rudolph was almost named Rollo or Reginald, and the others have also had a lot of other names. They've also been called Flossie, Glossy, Racer, Pacer, Scratcher, Feckless, Ready, Steady, and Fireball. I actually think some of those names are quite suitable, and they fit just as well as the names they have today, all except Feckless. No, that's not a good name for a reindeer. And can you imagine if Rudolph was actually called Reginald? Reginald, the red-nosed reindeer, doesn't quite have the same ring to it. The Christmas wreath first originated as a symbol of Christ. The holly represents the crown of thorns Jesus wore at his crucifixion, and the red berries stand for the blood he shed. Jingle Bells was originally a Thanksgiving song, and this is actually a fact I gave during my Thanksgiving video recently, I recall. James Lord Pierpoint wrote the song called One Horse Open Sleigh for his church's Thanksgiving concert in the mid-19th century. Then in 1857, the song was re-released under the title we all know and love. Today it's still among the most popular Christmas songs. And continuing the theme of songs, Silent Night is the most recorded Christmas song. It has had more than 733 different versions copyrighted since 1978. From 1659 to 1681, anyone caught making merry in the colonies would face a fine for celebrating. By the Revolutionary War, the day had so little significance that Congress even held their first session on December the 25th, 1789. Christmas wasn't even proclaimed a federal holiday for almost another century, proving that the Grinch's attitude toward the holiday was alive and well long before he was. It's quite a funny fact there. But yeah, it's interesting to note how long it took for Christmas to become the event that it is today, or at least be celebrated by people. The Jamestown settlers created the first American batch of eggnog, although it likely bore little resemblance to the eggnog of today. The word nog comes from the word grog, or any drink made with rum. I've never actually had eggnog before, come to think of it. I'm not sure it's really that big over here in the UK. I think it might be mainly an American thing, but I could be wrong. I've seen it in plenty of Christmas movies before, version, I'd be willing to try that, but I'm not a big alcoholic drinker, so I would much prefer to try a non-alcoholic version. It has a nice sort of creamy appeal to it visually, anyway. So yeah, I'd be curious of how it tasted. The 12 Days of Christmas is the name of a popular Christmas carol, but the lyrics of the song might not mean what you thought they did. The true love in the song actually refers to the love of God according to the Catholic Church, and in accepting the gifts, the receiver has accepted the code of that love. Each of the gifts have meaning within this code, such as 2 turtle doves, which symbolize the acceptance of the Old and New Testament. Christmas decorating sends almost 15,000 people to hospital each year in the US. In fact, the Consumer Product Safety Commission estimates that 14,700 people visit hospital emergency rooms each November and December from holiday-related decorating accidents. I think this is a fact that makes a lot of sense, especially when it comes to Christmas lights. I really don't like Christmas lights in terms of when you first attempt to put them around the tree. They're always tangled somehow, I find, no matter how neatly you think you packed them away the year before. And it's just so frustrating, the process of untangling them and trying to sort them out. Every year I say I'm going to get a new tree, one with lights built into it, so there's no need to deal with tangled lights, but I never do. Maybe it's just something we have to go through at Christmas, like a tradition. But yeah, be careful when it comes to putting the decorations up, or it could ruin your Christmas. Speaking of which, when do you think is the best time to put decorations up? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that. Everyone has their own idea. Some people are eager and they have them up in November, and some are latecomers and they only put them up in mid-December, say. Personally, I like to put mine up at the end of November and get around a full month out of them. So anytime between the 25th and the 30th of November is generally my ideal time. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And continuing the theme of Christmas lights, they actually used to be so expensive that they were rented instead of sold. An electrically lit light was a status symbol in the early 1900s. Every year, letters to Santa Claus flood post offices across the world, putting parents in a tough spot as they figure out how to answer them or explain why their kids' letters got lost in the mail, cementing their reputation as some of the nicest people ever. Some big-hearted Canadian post office workers started writing back. As the program took off, they set up a special postal code for Santa as part of a Santa letter writing program initiative called Ho Ho Ho. Contrary to popular belief, Xmas is not a trendy attempt to take Christ out of Christmas. Christianity was spelled Xianity as far back as 1100. X or Chi is the Greek first letter of Christ and served as a symbolic stand-in at the time. I remember writing Merry Xmas in snow spray when decorating my granny's house when I was a child, and I always thought the Xmas form of writing was in fact just a shortened version of the word Christmas, like many, I'm sure. So yeah, that's a really cool fact to learn. Historians have been unable to determine who the first president was to bring a tree into the White House. It was either Franklin Pierce in 1856 or Benjamin Harrison in 1889, though it is known that President Calvin Coolidge started the White House tree lighting ceremony in 1923. That is such a cool name, I think. Calvin Coolidge. And it's a name I've heard before, one of the past presidents, but yeah, that's a really cool name, I think, literally. Mistletoe is an aphrodisiac. This Christmas decoration isn't just pretty, it's also an ancient symbol of fertility and virility. And the Druids considered it an aphrodisiac. On the other hand, mistletoe's name might not give you quite as many warm feelings. Mistle thrush birds eat the plant's berries, digest the seed, and then help the plant germinate with their droppings. The Germanic word for mistletoe literally means dung on a twig. And I think that's the least Christmassy fact that we will hear all day. Candy canes originated in Germany. The National Confectioners Association says a choir master originally gave the red and white striped candies to young children to keep them quiet during marathon church services. It wasn't until a German-Swedish immigrant decorated his tree with candy canes in 1847 that they became popular as a Christmas treat. I've never really been a candy cane kind of person. I'm not sure how popular they are in other countries, but a really popular tradition here is to get something called a selection box, which you may have heard of. And basically what it is a rectangular shaped box that contains around maybe 5 to 7 chocolate bars. And yeah, they're really popular here in the UK, especially with kids. You wouldn't tend to get an adult a selection box as a present. They're more sort of aimed at kids. But yeah, I remember getting a bunch of those every year when I was a kid, and still having chocolate bars left over well into January and even February and beyond. That's how much sort of chocolates and things you got at Christmas time when I was a kid. It's probably the same today, but yeah, that was one of my experiences. But I don't recall really having candy canes. It's more sort of selection boxes and chocolate Santas and things like that when I was young. Londoners and visitors alike probably know the iconic spruce that stretches to the sky in Trafalgar Square each year, but few realise it's an equally iconic holiday gift. Every year since 1947, the people of Norway donate the tree in gratitude for Britain's support for Norway during World War II. The city of Vancouver, Canada, claims to be the birthplace of the first ugly Christmas sweater party. Until last year, I think, I never actually owned a Christmas sweater, believe it or not, but they're becoming more and more popular. I think they're no longer considered ugly, really, and you can get some really nice ones, as it happens, as well as some really awful cheesy ones. But I think it's all part of the festive fun at the end of the day, and I really like the Christmas jumper that I picked out last year, and looking forward to wearing it again this year. Tinsel was invented in 1610 in Germany and was originally spun from real silver, making it vastly different from the sparkly decoration we know today. There is a little gender confusion regarding Santa's reindeer. While most of their names sound male, male reindeers shed their antlers around Christmas. Somehow, Santa's reindeer keep their antlers all year round. It only took Charles Dickens 5 weeks to write A Christmas Carol. When I was a kid, I really had no interest in A Christmas Carol. I guess I just saw it as an old story that was kind of boring and was more interested in the likes of Home Alone and more modern Christmas movies. I think a lot of kids share that same opinion. But as I got older, I began to appreciate it more and more, and I love it now. Nothing says Christmas like A Christmas Carol, and seeing different versions of it on the TV, usually in the 3 or 4 days before Christmas Day itself is when I tend to notice it. I really love the 1951 version, as well as the 1984 and 1999 versions with Patrick Stewart. You can tell that I've done research on them before. In probably the last 3 years or so, I've looked up a lot of information on the Christmas Carol movies. They've been a big interest over the past few years at Christmas time. And as well as those versions, there's also a really fun musical version from the 1970s, I think, with Albert Finney, I think it was. So yeah, I usually look for any of those versions in and around the days before Christmas. But I know there are other versions as well, and there's an animated one also. So yeah, it's such a great story, and it has a very important message as well. While today we associate much of our Christmas traditions with Victorian England, the country was not always a fan of the holiday. Oliver Cromwell, a Puritan dictator of the British Isles in the mid-17th century, passed a law in Parliament that made Christmas illegal. Apparently, he thought it was immoral to be partying so hard on such a holy day. It wasn't until Cromwell lost power in the 1660s that the ban was lifted. I guess you could say he was a bit of a Scrooge then, Oliver Cromwell. During the Second World War, the well-known American playing card company Bicycle joined up with US and British is an amazing fact, I think. Something I had never heard before. That is so clever. Okay, so a playing card company joined forces with US and British spies, and they created cards that had an escape plan hidden within them. That's ingenious. I wonder, did they actually escape? This fact kind of makes me think of the Escaped Victory movie, which has Sylvester Stallone in it, in which prisoners are forced to play a football game against a German side, and at the very end they win the match, and they end up escaping through the crowds when the crowds actually invade the pitch. So there's thousands of people on the pitch, and they basically end up getting mixed into the crowd. So yeah, it's a really cool movie, and it's well worth checking out if you've never seen it. One of the most popular times of the year for breakups is Christmas, according to Facebook. And it is the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, to be specific. Maybe it's the stress of the season, or realizing you don't want to buy your significant other a gift. Interestingly, Christmas Day is the least common day to end a relationship. Spiders are common as Christmas tree decorations in Poland because, according to a legend, a spider wove a blanket for baby Jesus. Yeah, nothing quite says Christmas like spiders hanging off your tree. No, but if it's a tradition in Poland and they enjoy it, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. Teddy Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, was such a devoted environmentalist that he banned Christmas trees from the White House in 1901, his first year in office. The most popular Christmas food is still up for debate. In December, ham is a more popular search term than turkey, according to Google Trends. I've never actually been a fan of ham. I don't have it with my Christmas dinner, nor do I have stuffing. I quite like ham from a packet in the fridge, but not on a dinner plate, and certainly not hot either. It's just one of those funny things, I think. I'm quite a fussy eater in general. I love turkey, of course, but ham, no, not so much. It's just a bit salty for my taste, I think. When the Santa Claus first came out, a line in the movie has Tim Allen mentioning a phone number, 1-800-SPANK-ME. Well, it turns out it was a real number. A grandmother called it at the request of her grandchildren and discovered it was a number for intimate activities. It took 3 years for Disney to re-release the film without a mention of that phone line. I its name because of all the boxes around the house after the gifts get opened the day before. Its origins are less consumerist in nature, as its name refers to all the money that was collected in church alms boxes due to a long-standing custom of donating to charity on the day after Christmas. The saying, "Peace on earth, goodwill to all men," rang especially true on Christmas 1914. The First World War had started the previous summer, but the holiday spirit so moved the soldiers on the Western Front that the British and German soldiers laid down their arms in a Christmas truce. They moved into no man's land and exchanged cigarettes and other small gifts, sung some carols, and even took up a friendly game of football. I think that Sainsbury's, or maybe it was Tesco, I'm not sure, but one of the supermarket companies actually featured this event happening in their Christmas TV advert a number of years ago. I'm not sure what year it was, but I remember seeing it and it also being somewhat controversial at the time. The Statue of Liberty was a gift given to the United States by France on Christmas Day in 1886. Paul Mccartney earns around £300,000 each year from his festive hit Wonderful Christmas Time, which is widely regarded to be the worst song he ever recorded. I actually love that song, but my all-time favourite Christmas song is Wizard. I wish it could be Christmas every day. I just love that song. And also, a pretty unpopular opinion, but I really don't like Fairy Tale of New York. I know, shocking, but most people actually love that song. And fair play if you do, but it's not one that I've ever liked. And if I do hear it on the radio, I do tend to turn it over. It's just one that's never really been one that I've liked or appreciated. The word merry in Merry Christmas was not always accepted because being merry suggests slight intoxication. I can't believe there was a time that saying Merry Christmas wasn't accepted. Although I do know in America it's more respectful to say Happy Holidays, as a lot of Jewish people live there and they don't celebrate Christmas as such, but generally here in the UK people say Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas more than anything else, and without a doubt many of those people are literally merry in this case. Well guys, that is just about it for this festive Whispered Facts edition all about Christmas. But if you're feeling jolly like Santa, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will bring you plenty more fact-based episodes in the near future. I really do appreciate everyone who decides to subscribe to the channel, so a big thank you to you guys, and until next time, rest easy, sleep well, have a great Christmas whatever you do, and whoever you spend it with. I hope to see you again very soon for another video, and goodbye for now.